Breaking news to start the show is all the off-season drama in the desert has led to a massive payday for Kyler Murray of the Arizona Cardinals. Adam Schefter, you broke the story. What do we need to know?
It's a 5-year, $230.5 million extension field. This is something that both sides have talked about and wanted to do throughout the entire offseason. It's a deal that they set out to conquer and complete before training camp begins. And lo and behold, training camp begins and Kyler Murray gets the next big quarterback deal with an average annual salary of $46.1 million that places him amongst the top 3 highest paid quarterbacks in the game in terms of average salary per year. A lot of guaranteed money. 2-time Pro Bowl quarterback. You remember Chris Mortensen talking last year on the Super Bowl pregame show about how some people felt like Kyler needed to grow up there. I still think there's some curiosity as to how Kyler Murray is going to react to this deal. There's no disputing his skills, his abilities, his talents. He's a tremendous talent, 2-time Pro Bowl, but the Cardinals are betting on Kyler Murray and betting big with a 5-year extension today that is now official before training camp begins.
Shefty, great stuff. And just to reiterate once more, it's a 5-year deal worth a total of $230.5 million. In terms of average annual value, Kyler Murray is now second behind only Aaron Rodgers on a per-year basis at $46.1 million. As far as guarantees go, again, this is according to Shefty, $160 million guaranteed for Kyler Murray. That's the second most in the NFL behind only Deshaun Watson. We can talk about a lot of facets of this decision by the Arizona Cardinals. One thing's undeniable. Murray's a unique player. He's the only player in NFL history to throw for 70 touchdowns and rush for 20 touchdowns within his first 3 seasons in the league. But Tim, this is an eye-popper, that much is for sure. When you see where Kyler Murray, as we have Tim Hasselbeck and Robert Griffin III here on NFL Live, where you see where that list stacks up with Kyler Murray, second in terms of both average annual value and also guaranteed money, does the contract make sense to you?
Well, Field, it does make sense to me, and I think it's important for everyone to understand that just because you're the second highest paid quarterback in the NFL, it doesn't mean you're the second best quarterback in the NFL. It just means that the time to do your deal was, such that you had enough leverage. The team liked you enough to invest in you in the future, and the reality is that there's going to be new deals that are following that will bump him down from being the second highest paid quarterback on an average per year basis. So, when you look at it from the Cardinals standpoint, I think we all agree. Adam said it, you said it. He is a unique player, one that you can build around. Is he perfect? No. Or are there some things that they would probably like to see him do as a leader in that locker room better? Sure. But when you also look at what the quarterback market's going to do between Lamar Jackson probably getting a new deal soon, Justin Herbert on the horizon, Joe Burrow potentially on the horizon, at some point you have to realize we're better off doing this deal now than waiting for those other deals to get done.
Yeah, without a doubt, guys, when I listen to this deal, the first thing that comes to mind is I'm happy for Kyler Murray. The little man got the big bag, and it's life-changing money. The problem I have with the deal itself is that if Deshaun Watson can get a fully guaranteed deal with everything that he has going on off the field, then Kyler Murray and everyone else, these top players, deserve to get guaranteed money, fully guaranteed deals, and that's not what happened. But another win that they did have is earlier in the offseason, the team came out anonymously through sources and tried to trash Kyler's name. And this is a big win for Kyler and his agent because they stood pat, they stood their ground, and they ended up winning and not allowing the media storm to kind of diminish his value and make him take $10 to $15, $20 million less. And I think that's not talked about enough. We have to stop allowing teams to negotiate through the media and drive guys' markets down by saying negative things about them that really no one really even needs to know about whether they are true or false.
Well, but I do think, Robert, it's worth sort of reminding, and I pulled up just the verbiage that was used by Mort that Shefty referenced. This was the morning of the Super Bowl this year, and I'm just going to read it here. Murray is described as self-centered, immature, and a finger pointer that, according to sources, he was frustrated with the franchise and was embarrassed by the playoff loss to the Rams and thinks he's been framed as the scapegoat. Tim, I know that $230.5 million certainly is a sign of how you feel about each other, but That story is something that I am having a hard time distancing myself from right now. How much does it matter? How much of a risk is Arizona incurring, even if they kind of had to because there could be benefit from doing it down the line? Is this a riskier deal than some of the recent quarterback contracts like the Josh Allens or the Patrick Mahomes that we have seen get done?
You know, I think, listen, it depends on how you feel about his leadership. It depends about how you feel about, how the guys in that locker room are responding to him. I mean, I think, in terms of the risk, I think there's always risk when you invest the type of money that these organizations invest in starting quarterbacks, because you never really know how somebody's going to respond to it. Do they take it and understand that they have an immense responsibility to have a role in that organization, both to the city they represent as well as just from a football perspective? Some guys take that and raise their game. Other people, I think it intimidates them. It scares them, and they want to run away from the responsibility. So I don't think you ever really know how somebody's going to respond. It's a feeling that the organization has to have based on their experience with the player. So, I would just say from the standpoint of, what the characterization was of Kyler Murray and his leadership or lack thereof, clearly it was superseded by what they've been able to see from him on the football field, because it's undoubtable, it's clear to everyone who watches him play that he is a special player.
Robert, if you were to put yourself in Kyler's shoes, and listen, you're the number 2 overall pick in the NFL draft and great success in your career, and you are reading this report, even if you don't know who the source of the report is, the perception is certainly that it's coming from inside the building. How much of a bridge do you have to gap between the player and the organization, separate from the money? The money's one thing, but these issues, if they're real, you got to handle them and address them.
Yeah, no doubt about it, Phil. And I think you hit the nail on the head there by saying it's hard to distance yourself from those reports. Because to me, if you were going to pay Kyler Murray $230.5 million and guarantee $160 million of it anyway, then why do the fans need to know these minor grievances that you have about his leadership or about his work ethic or whatever else it may be? It honestly doesn't matter. All you're doing is driving down the guy that's supposed to lead your franchise in the eyes of the fans, the media, and everyone that surrounds the team. What are his teammates thinking when they see that? Does the team really have this guy's back? They paid him a bunch of money, but they're kind of saying slick stuff behind his back. That's why I don't understand that portion of it. But now that he has gotten paid, Kyler Murray can just kind of walk around in the building and feel more free to be himself and be a better leader, if that is even the case. We don't know if that is necessarily true or not. I haven't heard anyone tell me that, but now Kyler's got the money, the big bag behind him to support him going out and being the leader of that team like he has on the field.
Yeah, major news out of Arizona as the Cardinals have signed quarterback Kyler Murray to a 5-year extension worth $230.5 million and includes $160 million guaranteed, that via Adam Schefter. This makes Murray the second highest paid quarterback in league history in terms of both average money per year and guarantees. We're bringing in Kimberly Martin once more for some additional thoughts on this deal. Kimberly, as you've gauged reaction around the league to this Kyler Murray extension in the hour since it got done, what has it been so far?
Oh man, Field, my phone has not stopped buzzing. And the reaction, I gotta be honest, it's been mixed. Some people have said, well, of course they've got to pay him. Look at that kid. He's got an exceptional skill set and he's very unique. Now, one GM I actually was texting with said he did not think Kyler Murray was worth $46.1 million a year because of the lacking leadership, as he termed it. And he thought Kyler came off as selfish. And the question he posed to me was, what has Kyler Murray done to deserve that money more than Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen? He's second, highest behind Aaron Rodgers, and I thought that was really interesting. But we're expecting some other guys to get paid, like a Lamar Jackson. He's not the second best quarterback, but we expect him to be in that range too, right? So you're worth what someone's willing to pay you at the end of the day. And the Cardinals were willing to pay Kyler Murray.
I was going to ask you about Lamar Jackson there, Kimberly, because while some have questioned why he is waiting for a deal to get done, does the news of Kyler Murray's extension and the figures where it was finished at, it strengthen the case for Lamar Jackson stringing this along further?
So Lamar Jackson not doing anything has been the smartest negotiating tactic there is. But I think Kyler Murray doesn't really factor into this because you have the Deshaun Watson deal setting the market. When that deal got done, that $230 million guaranteed, when I talked to GMs and execs, they said Lamar Jackson should just slide that number across the table and said, that's where we need to start. So Kyler Murray getting $160 million guaranteed, that's a great metric for Lamar, but the stage has been set. He can go in and say, I should be up where Deshaun is.
Well, after extending GM Steve Keim and head coach Cliff Kingsbury, Kyler Murray is now the latest major figure in Arizona to get a lucrative extension, his for 5 years. And again, $230.5 million. And no one better to ask about that breaking news than Adam Schefter. What can you tell us about the latest in Arizona?
Well, Field, a deal that the Cardinals and Kyler Murray wanted to get done before camp is now in place. You see the big deal kick in today. The two sides get an agreement done before training camp begins that gives Kyler Murray the third highest annual average of any quarterback in the league. He'll now average $46.1 million. It's the latest blockbuster quarterback deal. You see the numbers there on the board, $230.5 million, $150 or so million guaranteed. Big deal for Kyler Murray. And now you have to wonder if Lamar Jackson will be the next quarterback that gets a new deal from the Baltimore Ravens. He did show up to training camp after not being there for a good part of the offseason. Obviously, you would have to figure, despite not doing it last year, this would be a summer that Lamar Jackson would want to get a new deal knocked out.
Schefter, you were sitting right next to Mort on Super Bowl morning when he reported that there were some who felt as though Kyler Murray was self-centered, a finger pointer, and immature. Whether that perception persists or not, how much of an issue do you believe that remains right now on a day in which he is signing an historic contract?
Look, Phil, I think there are two sides to this, right? You've got a great, young, talented quarterback who's been to the Pro Bowl twice, and then there are people who have spoken to Mort who have wondered about Kyler's maturity level and whether or not, again, this is somebody that you want to build around. Arizona clearly felt he was a guy to build around. I'm not sure that everybody in the organization felt that way. We'll see over time. But the fact remains he's tied to Arizona for the next 7 years through 2028. The team extended Cliff Kingsbury, the head coach. It extended Steve Keim, the general manager. And now it has extended the quarterback. And so they are there together for the long haul here. Arizona quite happy to have everybody locked in, long-term, ready to go as training camp is ready to get underway.
Yeah, Schefter, great stuff. A reminder, as always, the NFL news never sleeps. Let's get our group back involved here. Robert, what was your reaction when you saw this deal for Kyler Murray?
Yeah, Phil, my reaction was excitement. I'm happy for him. That was the first one, like the little man got bag, let's go. I love to see players get paid. And then I saw the details of the deal, and immediately I was drawn back to say, why are quarterbacks taking less than fully guaranteed deals? Deshaun Watson got a fully guaranteed deal to be traded from the Houston Texans to the Cleveland Browns with everything that he has going on off the field. So why are players and agents not demanding that they get fully guaranteed deals? I just think that guys put their lives on the line. We got veteran players, former players that are dying at the age of 45, 50 years old because of the effects of football. We got to get these guys fully guaranteed deals because we earn it every single time we step on that field. And I'm just a little drawn back by the fact that the players are not seeking that out after seeing what Deshaun Watson got.
I was going to say that Deshaun Watson deal is going to be discussed many, many times over until quarterbacks are routinely getting 100% of their compensation fully guaranteed. Even if not 100% guaranteed, Kyler is now making the big bucks. But the Cardinals got to hope that he can earn that check from start to finish, meaning of the season, as Arizona has made a habit of starting fast and then slowing down in the second half of the year. Look at last year. Murray was 5th in total QBR through October. He finished 18th in that same category from November on. All right, so Kimberly, this is a team that has now locked up its general manager, its head coach, and its quarterback to a long-term deal. You see those numbers about the ways in which they have struggled late in the season. If they continue to underperform down the stretch, who do you think is going to be feeling the most pressure within this organization?
Listen, Phil, we spent all day talking about Kyler Murray, but I think we need to be talking about Cliff Kingsbury a little bit. Just because, I've covered their watch this team. We talked about them early in the season, like watch out for the Cardinals, and then they just sort of fizzled down the stretch. We can put that on Kyler and his diminished numbers, but put that on the head coach too. I'm in New Jersey. I've covered the Jets. I've covered the Giants. If he were in this market, Cliff would have been on the hot seat a long time ago. I think it's not just Kyler. Like, Cliff has to be better down the stretch and make sure that his team is better down the stretch field.
Kimberly, I think you're exactly right in terms of the pressure. I also think you're exactly right in terms of the attention. I mean, the reality is, like, they're just not in the national narrative the way that other organizations are. And I think when you look at, what Kyler Murray can, eventually be as a starting quarterback in the NFL, so much of that is tied to how much better of a coach can Cliff Kingsbury become as he learns about being a head coach in the National Football League. I don't think there's any doubt about it. And that's why I think while, the vast majority of the league will look at what the Cardinals do offensively and find it to be a challenge, I think from a team perspective, winning ugly, if you will, finding ways to do that, there's an element to that good coaches find a way to do it. And I think people are looking for that. Look, in terms of the deal, I think it's a fair deal. I think it's the right timing for the deal. I think the questions about his leadership are legitimate and fair. And I think that, now that he's been kind of given the thing that he wanted, which was a new contract, the question ends up being, does he step up, rise to the occasion, and start to kind of be the leader and the building block that they want him to be in Arizona?
Yeah, guys, just to kind of talk about what Matt just, Tim just talked about there with Kyler and the leadership thing. I just don't understand why that matters at this point. When Kyler came out and said he wanted a new deal and he said he wasn't going to play if he didn't get one, why does it matter that they don't think he's a great leader? Why do they need to tell that to everybody else? I don't understand how that works when you tear down your starting quarterback to the fans and to the media. It just seems like they're going to give him money anyway. It just seemed pointless. But when you talk about Cliff Kingsbury and what he has to do to help this team be better, it comes down to making adjustments late in the year. And I'm talking about offensive adjustments, because their offense always starts out fast, but then defenses in the NFL, they kind of clamor and figure out what you're trying to do offensively and shut it down. Cliff has to do a better job of keeping things fresh and new later in the year so that he can get his guys open. And I think Marquise Brown coming to the Cardinals is going to be a big get for them, because Kyler is extremely comfortable with him as they were college teammates at Oklahoma.
And Marquise Brown due for a contract himself, by the way. And every time a quarterback signs a big deal, the first thing we ask is, well, who's next, right? And in this case, it seems pretty obvious that Lamar Jackson is on that short list. So, Kimberly, what effect will today's news pertaining to Kyler Murray have on Lamar Jackson's negotiations?
Well, it'll make us talk about it more. It'll make me think, gosh, I wish I was Lamar Jackson's agent. But Lamar didn't need Kyler Murray signing today to think, you know what? Now is the time for me to sign. The Ravens have wanted to sign him for the longest, and I've been told that Lamar has been focused on getting better physically, more fit, stronger, faster, getting healed up, and focusing on winning a Super Bowl. Now, RG3 was talking about leadership and why is that important. Coaches always say, this player, he does it the right way. He's the right kind of guy. He's not selfish. Lamar is the kind of player who has done everything for the Ravens, an MVP-type player. So you want to see him get taken care of the same way some of these other quarterbacks are getting paid.
Yeah, Lamar Jackson, by the way, has been extension eligible since last offseason. Still no deal done, but as we were reminded of today, the NFL news cycle will continue all until the games begin. NFL Live returns tomorrow. For now, it's a good day to be Kyler Murray and 230.